to introduce you. I've written extensively on the question of friendship. My approach to friendship is to ground friendship in God.
I will see you. Have a blessed
True
Shabbat.
friendship is grounded in God. This project came There is increasing polarity, not just between religions and society and politically, and people don't listen to each other, and the world is going to pot.
It's the biggest single-day loss for the Israeli army since January.
Literally, we're looking at hundreds of thousands of Palestinian displaced families. And
There's a war going on in my country right now, ostensibly in the name of religion, at least partly in the name of religion, where Jews and Muslims are killing each other. And yet my friendships have survived. Why? Because they had foundations. They had a depth dimension to them. And therefore what we need to do is to offer that vision to the world as an antidote to a vision of despair that we can supplant by a vision of hope. You'll be happy to know the story my mother likes to tell. When I was, 2 years old in Rome, my father was the biblical advisor to Ben-Hur, and they took me to St. Peter's, a place I still have great fondness for. And I walked in, and I saw the candles burning, and I cried out loud, "Shabbat Shalom!" The rest of my life is figuring out how to do this in a slightly higher pitch.
And that's the whole property.
I'll show you. Let's cross the street and I'll show you. We're currently working here in Assisi on the creation of the global house of friendship and hope. And the idea is to explore experience across faiths and to be inspired by the example of friendship. The popes have convened interreligious gatherings here in Assisi, the friendship initiatives that Elijah Interfaith Board of World Religious Leaders has demonstrated.
Personal contact, personal friendship, then we can exchange deeper level of experience.
We kill each other and we shoot at each other's houses of worship through a sense of otherness. If we can be inspired by the other, it's not only that we won't kill the other, but we actually will grow in our appreciation of them, and then what we can take from them to deepen in our own spiritual lives. In my teenage years, I found a deep thirst for God, which in turn led me to deepening my own religious practices beyond what was conventional in my society. And as part of that, over the years, also increasing contact with members of other faiths. When exactly it was that I was in the streets of London exploring Hindu temples, it's probably before I got serious about my own religion, but that means that I already had an interest in these things. Already as a 11-year-old, I was taken through India on a tour with my parents and visited other places. So there was all along an awareness of a broader context. But with it then came increasingly contacts, not just with ideas, but with people, with religious communities. Initially Christians, over time Hindu. And I've been walking on these 2 feet, on the one hand, engaging other faiths, but also reflecting what Judaism has to say about other faiths. And I just want to begin, before the actual interview, with a little gesture of friendship. You've already given me great gifts. You've hosted me in your center, and you're coming here as a gift, and I want to give you a little gift.
Okay.
This gift is a book that I wrote. It's a book about the Jewish encounter with Hinduism. Have you been inspired by the prayer lives of people in other traditions that you've encountered?
I have a personal liking for the saints of Christianity, especially those who, like Saint Francis of Assisi, who gave away all their lives for the betterment of others. That's what Sai Baba did. We cannot say we love and we don't care about serving or helping them. I can't just say I love you and I don't do anything for you. That doesn't work.
Why Hinduism? Why not? In many ways, it's more similar to the religions that were at the time of the Bible. It gives us much more time, opportunity to work through certain issues. The challenge really is the challenge of otherness. We start approaching another religion through a sense of otherness. It's inevitable. You don't find yourself comfortable immediately in something that you're strange with, right? It's like learning a foreign language, going to a foreign country. Those boundaries come down with friendship, with exposure, with reading, till there's a gradual assimilation of a way of looking that someone else has. I'm Jewish, I'm Orthodox, I'm deep in my practice, deep in my identification. Thank God my life within Judaism is rich, 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 rich. And yet God is greater than a religion, and therefore the tastes of God are greater than a particular religion, and the reality of God is greater. The prophet Malachi says in chapter 3, then the fearers of God will talk to one another. We have no problem accepting that within a religion. When the horizons expand, you also practice that in relation to other religions, but there's always a sense where God is more in the depth, more in the height, more in the breadth. So part of that breadth, which can also be depth, is also experiencing God as others experience Him. I don't become Christian thereby, I don't become Hindu thereby, I don't necessarily believe in the tenets of the faith, but I do discover what God is to those people, and in some way that also radiates to my own experience of God.
Oh, hello, you're back.
That was early. What happened? You were going to have a working lunch.
We decided to come to lunch at home.
Yeah?
Hey, okay. Do you need something? Hey, today's also.
I couldn't go so early.
Okay.
Are you okay?
Hey, at the end, what I said to Alon to reproach him, you didn't say?
What was the reproach? You told me to be Christian, no?
Didn't feel reproached by him, no.
By you?
No.
You're pure love, my man. How can you reproach anyone? I think you're a failed bishop because you have too much love.
Okay. Okay, so have you already begun? Or?
Yeah, we're in the middle. Come sit with me, we can talk some more. What happens when you see Muslims or Hindus come here?
I see in the other religions a real experience of God, knowing that God doesn't live far away from us, He lives in us. And so in every people who puts himself with a sincere heart in front of God, I feel a real communion.
Of the different faiths that you've encountered, through Elijah or otherwise, which of those particular faiths have really left an imprint on you or were transformative for your own personal growth?
I would have to say, number one, Islam.
Islam, really?
Yes.
Oh my God, tell me more about that. I'm learning so many things during this conversation.
Well, the idea, first of all, of visiting shrines for them, and the prayer and even solitude at times. You know, sometimes you have an incomplete understanding of faith, even though I taught religious studies. But to experience, to encounter is a lot more than that. And I think that was one of the real learning experiences for me.
Can you reflect on the importance of difference, tension, disagreement? Is it important to acknowledge that there are real differences between religions and to not be afraid of them?
My approach has been that we need to learn to understand the difference and to see how it empowers the other and not to put the difference aside.
I agree with you, and in fact our differences, call it diversity rather, it enriches us. It helps us to do what we can do in the best possible way. And I think for a Hindu worshipping an idol is the best possible way to express his devotions. For somebody else, it could be another way. I do not have to disrespect them for what they're doing because they are able to achieve the same goal at the end.
So you don't feel like you have a greater portion of the truth than I as a Jew do?
I believe I have the truth.
What do I have then?
If you want to put it in a very technical way, you have an incomplete truth.
Ah, nice.
Because it was perfected in Jesus Christ for me.
Okay. So when you look at me, you do look at me as someone who has a lesser part of the truth.
I don't know if I would say a lesser part. It's incomplete for me.
Incomplete.
Because Christ for us is the fullness. He completes everything. But I don't put that as a judgment statement between
No, we know
you
that
and me.
we know that for 20 years. I never heard that you really think that of me. One of the things that we saw in the interviews that we've held so far is that friendship can be constructed even in a spiritual sense, despite theological difference. 2 interviews with Christian interlocutors put me up against the question of the potential inferiority of my own religious path compared to theirs. And yet, one could see that the power of 20 years of friendship in the case of Nikita, 5 or whatever years of friendship with the case of Bishop Sorrentino, Domenico, and now this new formed friendship with Swami, they all bring us to that point of what Malachi speaks of, the fears of God talking to one another. And that encounter touches something in the heart that almost makes it secondary what the theological difference is.
Alon, I will see you. Have a blessed Shabbat.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, see you soon.
You're going to take salad and then you say a little prayer. We let you say the prayer because we don't have the grace of having an Imam in our home in Italy every day. Even in Israel, we don't have the grace of having an Imam every day.
May I serve you?
Yeah, but take enough.
No, I'm fine.
You have a degree of proficiency in the spiritual geography of this place. How do you see St. Francis as a figure in a context of the conversations we're having here? And how do you see Assisi as a locality for realizing this kind of vision that we obviously share?
Assisi, in the life of a saint such as St. Francis, has a very important and symbolic impact because coming from a very aristocratic family, he left this wealthy background to be concentrated on the search for God. Already this example is a very universal teaching. Secondly, not in Assisi, but when he left here, one of his travels was in Egypt during the Crusades. And eventually he went up to the meeting with the Sultan Malik al-Kamil. And he discovered that the so-called ignorant enemy against the religion was a very wise politician, a very deeply religious intellectual. And I think this last episode is quite a symbolic one.
So, Yahya, here we are in our home in Assisi. After many years of knowing each other, we're enjoying perfect tranquility and the beauty of a spiritual sharing. And yet, our brothers in faith are killing each other. And as a consequence of that, there's rising anti-Semitism and rising Islamophobia. What is the meaning of this moment against this background of increased tensions between our communities?
But if I may say in a provocative way, there is no meaning, there is no reason. There is a lack of reason, a lack of wisdom. On one side, you have some terrorists, and on the other side, you have an army of a government that decided to punish the terrorist act by an invasion and by a murder of thousands of civilians. Where is Judaism and Islam in all this?
Maybe we need a different paradigm. Judaism's fundamental stance is a balance between its own particularity and a broader universality of vision. Regrettably, but understandably due to historical circumstances, some of the people who've been the most spiritual have been also the most insular and keeping up walls in relation to what surrounds them. If Christians are killing you and persecuting you, it's very hard to look at the example of the Christian saints and to say, well, there's a sign of God. On the contrary, so Christian anti-Semitism and violence are a sign of non-God. But then, the repentance of the Christian church, as we have seen, especially in the 20th century in the Catholic Church and other mainline churches, is itself a sign of God's working, so that religions can and must purify themselves. And that holds true for those faiths that have persecuted Judaism. It's also true for Judaism itself. And what I want to say to you is thank you, because you have agreed to come here for this interview in what I understand is something very exceptional.
Yes, it is.
why did I have the honor, or why do we have the honor of your having agreed? You told me, you wrote to me, I've canceled all other commitments, but I will come to this. Why is that?
I imagine because of the importance of the cause, not just our friendship, which has a part in it, but for the importance of the cause. I do no video, no recording, except the preaching of the papal household. I think this is something God wants and society needs. Friendship, reconciliation among human beings is something which is no doubt in the will of the Lord, of God.
We said that religious geniuses can be inspiring to other religions. In what way can St. Francis be inspiring to people of other religions?
One thing that strikes in Francis of Assisi is the fact that he spoken against nobody. Speak in favor of truth, not against others. He didn't speak against Saracens or Jews or heretics. He only spoke in favor of people. I think this is something very, very important.
So my theology of friendship, and let me cite here a Christian voice, Aelred of Rivaux, and he coined this expression, you and me and Jesus between us. Once there's a determination that we're not going to argue who's right, we're not going to try and force our religion on the other or even attempt to change the identity of the other, but approach it from the perspective of mutual enrichment in God's presence, then those points of contention become points that are revelatory. In your homilies, in what you have to say, and I bless you that the Holy Week and that the Easter will be rich. Judaism on the whole, as I argue in my book, is in crisis, and the core of that crisis is a God crisis. And part of addressing that God crisis is precisely in the engagement across religions. Because when you have a meaningful engagement across religions, you realize that other religions are grounded in God. And that, whether you want to or not, will force you or the conversation or the religion to bring God back to the center because you see how other people practice their religion. And it is our common hope at the Elijah Institute and all the leaders who have signed on to this appeal that we can inspire the man and woman on the street to recognize, to cultivate, and to practice a new way of being in the world, a way that's characterized through this theme of friendship across religions.
Ba bum 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 bum, ha ba bum 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 bum, ha ba bum bum bum, ha ba bum bum bum, ba ba bum 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 bum, ha ba bum bum bum, ha ba bum bum bum, ba ba bum 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 bum. Oh, hum ba 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 ba, oh, hum ba 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 bum.